What's up, you beautiful people? Welcome to another episode. So in this one, Anuj and I were just talking about one of the best entrepreneurs that I think is also flying completely under the radar for most people. It's the CEO, the founder of Gymshark, Ben Francis. We talk about one of the skills that he had, something that he did that's completely unique and different that I've seen only ever play it out like a handful of times in the world of entrepreneurship. It's incredibly rare what he did, not just building a big company, but how he did it. And he has this one particular skill that if you watch this episode, you'll pick up and you can start figuring out how to apply it to yourself. And it will, I guarantee, help you on your entrepreneurial journey. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode. If so, let me know down in the comments what you took away. Without further ado, let's get to it. Do not bet against the man who is not afraid to recognize his inadequacies, his inabilities, his shortcomings, and is willing to bring in people around him to support that, and even put them in a position above him in terms of like authority. Yeah. Like there's so many really interesting things about the Ben Francis Gymshark story. Ben is like, first, he's a really young dude, right? And to have that kind of self-awareness to grow this business from, the back, I don't remember the exact story, but like all businesses start in the back of their mom's basement, right? Like every business starts in some weird way, and to grow it to like multiple billions of dollars, one of the biggest brands, sporting apparel brands in the world at this point. And first of all, to do that, like, kudos to him. But man, it's just so rare not to see somebody who can grow, but to have the self-awareness at a certain level that what got you here won't get you there. Just because you were the founder and you were the one, you had the right energy and the right skills to figure it out in the beginning and maybe get you to 1 million, 10 million, 50 million, 100 million. But then to have the humility to recognize, okay, for me to go from 100 million now to 1 billion, I don't have that skill set. But I want to stay involved. I need to learn that skill set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a CEO. I'm going to bring in somebody to run this company for me. And I'm going to step over to, chief of product, I think is what he ran over to, because he was the product guy. He was really good there. And so then for a couple of years, he just drafted and learned from this guy that he brought in as like a professional CEO to run the business. And the business kept growing until it got to the point where Ben was like, cool, I can step back into that role now. I've graduated. And there's a couple ideas there. One is, I said this is like never bet against a guy who's willing to like step down in order to see the business grow. That's really rare. And it reminds me of this idea that you can accomplish practically anything so long as you don't care who gets credit. Right? A lot of times on teams or in like as a founder, you get hung up on being the one that has the right answer and getting like the spotlight for having succeeded. But if you genuinely don't care about who gets the credit for it, like for him, if his ego was tied to being the founder, builder, running the show and getting all the credit for that, he would never have brought somebody in to run the thing. And that's, I think, why a lot of businesses kind of stagnate at that level. But it has to happen like consistently. That's the crazy part is that so we talk about this is that a business never outgrows its biggest constraint. In most businesses, like 99.9% of businesses, the biggest constraint is the founder, because it never grows beyond their skills or capacity, their resources. Ben is one of those very rare instances where the business outgrew the founder's capacity as a constraint because he recognized he was a constraint, stepped down to deconstrain it, right? Because the only other way to deconstrain it would have been for him to just level up, which he knew was going to take longer. It was going to be slower than just removing himself from that position, bringing in somebody else. And then over time in the background, leveling up so that he could step back in and no longer be the constraint. It's actually brilliant. It's really brilliant. And I don't think he gets enough credit. I'm sure he gets a lot of credit, but I don't think a lot of people know that story or how it can apply to what they're doing. So like, I think for the most part, you do not need to replace yourself until you probably get to at least 10 million. As soon as you start getting into that 8-figure range, you should start. You're now managing a team of managers, right? There's at least two layers of hierarchy where you're at the top. Underneath of you are executives or managers. Underneath of them are the team of doers, right? So you're managing the managers who manage the doers. And to go from 10 to 50 million or 10 to 100 million, you have to you start introducing another layer on top of that. So now you start introducing like your actual executive team. Like your CMO, your CFO, those people who are then running their team of managers who are managing their team of doers. And that, I think, is a really hard, barren wasteland to cross from 10 to 100. This is why you see a lot of people talk about building 8-figure businesses. Not a lot make it to 9. Because the skills that get you to 7 figures can get you to low 8 figures. But you're not going to get to 8 figure. You're not going to get to 9 figures from low 8 figures unless you level up substantially or you level up the people around you. So you can do one of two things when you're growing. You can either level up yourself, pay for the skills and acquire them, and that takes both the knowledge and then the practice for you to hone it. Or you can pay for somebody else who already has those skills to come in and do the work on your behalf. A lot of times we'll do that, and that's hiring managers. That's as you get more and more resources and grow as a company, you have the ability to bring in higher and higher level talent. This is why people say hire A players, because an A player is like night and day difference versus a B player. Somebody who has already done that thing at the highest level can then come over with all their playbooks and their established skills, and you get the benefit of that. All it takes is giving them money. The other way that you can learn those, get those skills, is you exchanging your time and some money to acquire it yourself. Right. And a lot of people will do that, and they'll grow, and especially in the beginning, they can grow quickly because you don't need to be at the tip of the spear in terms of competency to grow to 8 figures. But then their growth rate's slow. It starts to stall. And that's when they start bringing in, and they also have more resources now. They can afford to bring in those higher level people. But what Ben did is effectively that, where he did a combination of simultaneously, how do I continue leveling up my skills and also surround myself with the people that I already have the skill. But the unique turnaround was, instead of putting those people underneath of him and continuing to be at the head where he would still be a constraint, he said, no, I'm going to remove myself as the head, put myself down here. I'm going to put somebody else at the head, and I'm going to simultaneously be learning and growing, watching him, so that the business is no longer handicapped by my incompetence until I acquire everything I need from him to step back into that role, and the business continues growing in this linear fashion. It's just really fascinating. I think a lot of people would be well served. I think he has a really good YouTube channel, actually. Puts out some good content. I've only ever watched a couple things, but for entrepreneurs out there that are interested in seeing I would say I would put him in the category of a once in a generation entrepreneur for sure. If you build $1 billion business in your 20s, you're once in a lifetime. I don't know what I'm doing. I was hedging on that one just because it's really easy to have these really outrageous expectations of what's it mean to be once in a generation. Elon with 300 billion. It's no. If you're in your 20s, you build $1 billion company, you're fucking once in a generation. You're pretty amazing. Let's not get that twisted.